Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the Dungeons & Dragons community and the self-esteem problem that the Dungeons & Dragons community has, and how we could fix it. Okay, so we are in 2020. 2020 was just an absolutely brutal, drag us all over glass year. It was terrible, just so difficult in so many ways. I had a personally really brutal year. It was really challenging. I'm betting a lot of you did too, right? But when it comes to this passion, this spark that we have that is D&D, this life element that is within proximity of us, right? That we use to bring joy into our lives, to enrich ourselves personally, to just make our lives and other people's lives better. I'm really excited about 2021. I think 2021 can be a better year, right? And so what do I want to use 2021 to do? Well, one, I really want to fix some problems in the Dungeons & Dragons community that I identify, and then propose some solutions and do what I can to move toward implementing these solutions. And I realized recently that we have a massive problem in the Dungeons & Dragons community, which is low self-esteem for who we are and what we have, okay? So who are we and what do we have? So Dungeons & Dragons community is people who play Dungeons & Dragons, who care about the game and love the game and want the game to do well and expand, right? So critters are part of the D&D community. And people who play D&D now, people who used to play D&D but still have goodwill for the game, right? That's who we are. Who are we not? We're not people who don't play D&D, right? If you don't play Dungeons & Dragons, you're really probably not part of the Dungeons & Dragons community, right? So that's, and I just said people who play Dungeons & Dragons and still have goodwill for it. So if you're no longer playing Dungeons & Dragons, as long as you still have goodwill for the game, I think you can be considered part of the Dungeons & Dragons community. But I do think you have had played Dungeons & Dragons at some point to be part of the Dungeons & Dragons community. It's kind of, I know that's a hot take that you should have played D&D at some point, be playing D&D right now, you should be in some kind of game to be part of the D&D community. That actually was a point of contention last year. Like, they were like, well, what if I don't play D&D, but I watch D&D? Am I part of the D&D community? And there were a lot of people who were saying that we should be inclusive and say they are part of the D&D community. I have concerns around that just because, if you're part of the community, you get a say in what happens with the community. But if you never partake in the thing that the community loves the most, but you're going to have a say, perhaps even an equal say, it gets strange. All right, so what do we have? We have Dungeons & Dragons. What is Dungeons & Dragons? Dungeons & Dragons, this is where we get to, okay? In my opinion, and I'm selling this hard this year, Dungeons & Dragons is not a game, okay? Recently, in the Heroes Feast, the Dungeons & Dragons official canon Wizards of the Coast Hasbro product said Dungeons & Dragons is more than a game, right? So even the companies, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, are starting to come around to the idea that D&D is not a game. It is, at minimum, more than a game, right? And I'm saying Dungeons & Dragons is first and foremost an element of Americana. It was created by Gary Gygax. It came from the heartland of America, and it is as important as jazz, baseball, and comic books. Coca-Cola. These are elements of Americana that are recognizable anywhere on the globe, right? And Dungeons & Dragons is not one shred less important than any of them, okay? It's critical to understand this. We have a low self-esteem problem. We let others tell us that Dungeons & Dragons is smaller than it is, and we let people within the community tell us that Dungeons & Dragons is smaller than it is. And we need to stop, right? Now, why? Why do we need to stop? I'm going to tell you the reason we need to stop doing this. Stop telling other people who we are. Stop letting other people tell us what we have and the value of what we have, right? Because right now, the worst thing that is being said about Dungeons & Dragons on Twitter is it's just a game. It's being said by people outside of our community, and it's being said by people within our community. And it's flat out outrageously wrong, okay? So let's get into it, okay? All right, so what has brought me to understand this, that we, as the Dungeons and Dragons community, we must value what we have and no longer allow other people to belittle us and push us back with the words, it's just a game. Not anybody within the community and not anybody external to the community, okay? Here's why. The ever important, incredibly important, really, really important film, Safety, on Disney+. That's where the answers for Dungeons & Dragons futures lie. Why? Okay? The movie Safety is a movie that came out in 2020. It just released a few weeks ago. It's on Disney+. Okay? I watched it from cover to cover, right? Fascinating film, right? This film posited that a student went to Clemson to get an education and to play American football, okay? So he goes to Clemson and he signs up and he's playing American football at Clemson University, right? Clemson College, I'm not sure which. Clemson. It's a big American football school, okay? And also a university. It educates people as well, I think, on the side, right? So, but this university really cares a lot about American football. So they bring in this student, right? And the student is there and he's saying, hey, he gets to the point where he's struggling in school and struggling to balance his education and his American football performance, right? And Clemson's like, you best believe you need to deliver for us on the field. And he's like, well, wait. What about me? What about my education? Isn't that important too? And Clemson's like, yes, it is. And this is it was based on a true story, okay? It has like information at the end where they're like, this person, this thing, this time, right? This is based on a true story, right? Then the student who plays American football for Clemson says, guess what? My sibling, my younger brother, is having trouble. He's struggling because our mother can no longer care for me as an adult. I'm 18 plus, and for my younger sibling. So Clemson now owns the safety. They literally use the word in the film multiple times. Of me as a student. It's responsible for my safety, for my education, and guess what? It's responsible for my younger siblings' safety and education. And Clemson University, who has never received my younger sibling as a student, is now the responsibility of Clemson and the community of Clemson, right? And then the movie goes forward to tell us that American football is responsible for the mental health, mental health safety, physical health safety of the players who play it and their younger sibling who are underage children, right? And at no point in the movie does anybody say, wait, this is a game. It's just a game. And the reason why is American football fans do not allow that concept to come out of their mouths. They're like, this is red, white, and blue. This is America. This is money. This is industry. This is joy. This is passion. This is strength, right? This is hope. This is mental health safety for the players and the children who are their siblings. And this structure that is American football is so rock solid that the mental health safety and physical health safety of American children can be firmly placed upon it, and it must uphold everyone and anyone even remotely connected to American football. And the movie was widely received and heralded as a good story, right? A good telling of what already has happened. But on Twitter, if somebody goes and says D&D, hey, I think this is being done wrong and it should be done this way, people are like, oh, there's no right and wrong. And also, why should you have a strong opinion about anything in this thing that's just a game? It can't hold any weight. Nobody's mental health or physical health should be placed upon the structure of this purely just a game. Now, American football, which is far less important than Dungeons and Dragons by factors, and I'll give you a video at some point breaking down every single way where Dungeons and Dragons is 100-fold more important to the future of America than American football ever will be, right? Or ever was, right? Mostly it has to do with the fact that we're all knowledge workers now rather than physical laborers, right? And a whole bunch of other things. That's just a bare shred of it, right? But Dungeons and Dragons is far more important than American football. But the American football community does not allow anybody to say this is just a game. They're like, no, American football is the health of American children who aren't even connected directly to the game, right? The younger sibling of an American football player can expect that the structure of American football will literally supply the mental health safety and physical health safety of an American child. Because the idea that American football is a game is ludicrous to that community. They're like, no, this is life. American football is a life element. And there's enough money and power and momentum and structure and honor and hope in this thing to hold up multiple people in multiple families and to be a true pillar of culture within America. If you say to most, the 51%, the 51% of American fans, of American football fans, I think you'll get back the answer. Oh, the idea that this is a game is ludicrous. This is everything, right? We live for it, right? And the idea to them that it's just a game is not tolerated. They do not allow their community to be belittled. They do not allow the concept of what American football is to be belittled. And just like the movie, Disney Plus's Safety shows us, we as a D&D community should not allow this. We should not allow anyone, and when I say not allow, right, we should not give it any purchase in our heart, right? Everybody has freedom of speech. I'm not saying anybody shouldn't be allowed to say something, right? But I'm saying whenever you hear anyone external to our community say it's just a game about Dungeons and Dragons, you can have forgiveness in your heart for them, right? Because they're ignorant. That's okay, right? They're outside the community. They don't really know any better, right? But if you hear anybody in this community saying it's just a game, stop listening to them, right? Don't tell them to stop saying it. Recognize who and what they are. They are intent on belittling you, on belittling what we have, and lowering the value to the small, shredded, vestigial concept that is in their mind that is not connected to reality, right? Don't stop anybody from saying anything, right? When I say allow, I'm saying from the perspective of the movie, I think it was My Block. It's a movie about space invasion with the guy who played Finn in Star Wars. And he had this saying where he would say, I'll allow it, right? When we say we allow it, right, of course, anybody who can post anything they want on Twitter. The thing that needs to change is if anybody within our community ever says it's just a game, recognize them for what they are. They're belittlers. Stop listening to them, right? Don't give their ideas any value in your heart or in your mind. That's the proper response. Of course, all of this is my opinion. What do you think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think we are just as important as American football, and that by upping our self-esteem as a community, we can begin to put weight on Dungeons and Dragons and say, yes, we can put people's mental health safety and people's physical health safety on this structure because it's as strong as anything else that's connected to American football, which is supporting millions of lives. And now has gone to the point where it's widely accepted that American football should be responsible for the safety of siblings, younger siblings of the game, who have never even been, have never been accepted within the programs they play, right? But the American football community is completely okay with that concept because they have so much esteem for what the game is, how strong it is, what it can support, who they are, what they can support, right? It's incredible. And it really paves the road for where we need to be as Dungeons and Dragons. We need to have as much belief and esteem for what we have as American football fans have for what they have. All that's my opinion. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. Let me know if you think I'm right. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.